Hi guys, and welcome back to today's video. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing Booleans. So let's get started. So first of all, what are Booleans? So basically, Booleans are used throughout all programming languages and are a logical type. So what is a logical type? So a logical type is basically something which is either true or false. So when you look at the possible values for a logical type, you can see here, you can only possibly have true or false. Also, you could have 1 or 0, which represent true or false as well. So when you look into this a bit deeper of them, what is a logical type and how can you actually use them? Well, you want to use logical types when you want to do some sort of logical operation. So some piece of logic basically. So just to give you an example, if you need to check some logic such as has the limit been reached? Is the user over the age limit? Does the user have a valid subscription? Is an item active? These are all the small examples of where you would want to check if something is true or false. And then depending on the outcome of it being true or false, then you would do some sort of operations, which is either printing something to the console or maybe saving something into the database or calling an API or showing a screen, that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to step into Swift Playgrounds and actually look at how we can actually use Booleans with some examples. So let's get started. Right, so we've got our Swift Playground open here. So what we're actually going to do is we're actually just going to basically go through a very simple, brief example of using Booleans. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to create a property called isActive, and depending on whether you change the value of that property to either true or false, then we will basically print out a message into the console. So let's get started. So let's just delete this line here, and then let's just create a new variable called isActive. And then what we're going to do is, actually we'll just specify this as bool. So what we're going to do is go specify it as a boolean, and we're just going to change it to true. We'll set it to true. And then what I'm going to say here is if is active, else. Yep. So what we're going to say here is if is active, so if is active is equal to true, yeah, then we're going to print a message saying the item is active. And the else is if it isn't active, then we're going to print out the item isn't active. Now, if you have experience in programming, you probably realize that in some programming languages, you actually need to do this. But in Swift, there's actually no need to actually do the parentheses. You can just literally do it like this, where you say if the item is active is equal to true. You can evaluate it like so. But if you want to take it one step further, which is what I had before, you can actually completely omit this and still get the same effect. So this here is basically saying if the item is equal to true, then execute this, or else if it's equal to false or any other value, then print the item isn't active. So we can see, so that we can see this in action, what we're going to do is print this out to the console. Hit run, and then you can see here the item is active. And if we change this is active to false, we run this, you'll see we get a message saying the item isn't active. And similarly, again, if I was to convert to use the longhand version of this, where I say is equal to true, and then change this to true again, and then hit run, you can see it says the item is active, so you get the same effect there. And obviously you can change this to back to what it was before. Cool. And then obviously you run it, you get the same effect again. So that was a really brief example of this. So Just to briefly recap what we're doing, we basically have a property here which is of type Boolean. We set it to the value true. We use an if statement. So just to read this out in plain English, so if the item is active, so if the item is active, so if it is true, so if the item is true, then we want to print this out, or else if it's equal to any other value, then we want to basically print out this message here. All right, cool. So let's go back to the presentation. So let's discuss today's Booleans challenge. So what we're actually going to do in today's challenge is we're going to basically, first of all, create a variable called isOn. And obviously, I'm guessing you know what that type needs to be for this variable. Then what we're going to do is if the value of the property is on is equal to true, then I want you guys to print out the message switch is on. Alternatively, if the value of this property is false, then I want you to print the value the switch is off. So that's everything for today's video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any feedback on these videos, please leave them in the comment section below. That's everything. I'll see you guys in the next video where we go through the solution for this challenge. And if that's everything, deuces.